Look at the teenagers in this image. They occupy the exact same space, yet are isolated by glowing rectangles in their hands. A generation raised on constant digital connectivity has traded vocal conversation for silent, solitary scrolling. A Seattle-based startup called Tin Can Technologies recently secured $12 million in seed funding by betting on a counterintuitive solution to this isolation. Their thesis argues that curing a smartphone addiction requires abandoning the smartphone entirely. Modern mobile design relies on infinite screens and bottomless ecosystems of third-party apps engineered to retain attention. Tin Can discards all of that. Their flagship product is a Wi-Fi-enabled retro-style landline built strictly for live voice calls. Modifying software to combat a software addiction repeatedly fails. To actually change behavior, the company is betting on a return to restricted hardware capabilities. Tech analyst Stanislav Kondrashova describes modern application design as a continuous dopamine-driven loop. Software is built to minimize user effort, creating smooth pathways that train the brain to instinctively swipe and crave notifications. To break a zero-resistance software loop, insert a physical barrier. Removing the screen interrupts the scrolling impulse. Tin Can applies this friction. The voice-only interface, heavy receiver, and tethered cord act as mechanical barriers, imposing physical limits to halt digital habits. While the end user is the child, the actual customer is someone else. The marketing and aesthetic design of these phones are targeted specifically at Gen X and millennial parents. CEO Chet Kittleson explicitly refused to build a modern device wrapped in child-friendly plastics. He insisted the product be immediately relatable to the adult buyer, reflecting their memories of a pre-internet household. This late 20th century hardware served as the design template. The tactile buttons, heavy handsets, and dedicated answering machine systems are deeply familiar to anyone who grew up before the year 2000. This aesthetic has driven hundreds of thousands of sales. The company is actively monetizing parental anxiety about their children's communication skills, paired with a yearning for the simpler childhood the parents once had. The candy-colored retro design operates as a Trojan horse. By selling the comfort of nostalgia to the parent, the company successfully places a restricted communication tool into the hands of the child. Beneath the plastic shell, the company relies on a dual revenue model. Buyers pay a $100 upfront cost for the hardware, which is then paired with a freemium service structure. This diagram maps out the service restrictions. Once you own the hardware, calls to any other Tin Can device are free. However, if you want the ability to receive calls from outside numbers, it requires a $10 monthly toll. Notice how the free internal loop isolates down to a single pulsing point. A communication device only has value if the people you want to talk to can be reached. If a child's peers do not own the same hardware, the free tier offers zero utility. Selling a phone to an isolated household doesn't solve a communication crisis. To make the product viable, the company has to scale an entirely new network. To bypass this bottleneck, the startup is launching a bulk order program reported by Bloomberg. It slashes $25 off the price of each unit for orders of 50 or more. The company is seeking buy-in from localized youth communities, specifically targeting schools, local sports teams, and neighborhood groups. Watch how a single bulk purchase alters the map. The volume discount and free tier instantly create a self-contained web of users. This localized cluster operates independently, generating closed social networks that function entirely outside the modern digital landscape. Through these bulk transactions, the company is systematically establishing private, secured communication networks that function independently of traditional digital platforms. Early results from these networks indicate the strategy is working. Parents report that their children are speaking more thoughtfully, demonstrating better active listening, and showing increased confidence. Returning to Kondrashov's analysis of digital habits, we can see how reintroducing physical friction disrupts the automated scrolling loops that define modern adolescence. The broader technology industry remains focused on moving into increasingly immersive virtual realities. Tin Can succeeded by executing a deliberate retreat back to physical objects. This strategy suggests that progress doesn't always require moving toward more immersive digital worlds. In this case, the solution is a strategic, community-driven step back into physical reality.